turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher.
And welcome back. I'm Mike with the Turntable Teachers, and class is back in session. Here for another guest speaker episode at AOA Studios. If you're an artist, podcaster, or content creator of any kind, make sure to check us out at aoastudios.org and book your session or service today. And I'm joined today by an incredibly special guest. You definitely know his name if you're a hip-hop fan, especially if you're a New England hip-hop fan, you should know his name. He is one of the most illustrious artists to ever set foot down in Massachusetts, has over 50 albums out, Billboard chart-topping artist, has worked with the likes of Mac Miller, Bun B, Paul Wall, just to name a few. And we're going to be talking a lot more about it today.
Yeah.
Welcome to one and only Termanology.
What's up? What's up? Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you.
I like that intro.
For coming back. Appreciate you, man.
I don't think nobody's ever called me illustrious.
No one's ever called you illustrious?
Nah. I like
and you're that long of a career, and no one's ever called you illustrious. I can't be the only one.
I get prolific sometimes.
Okay.
Handsome, you know.
Handsome?
Yeah,
all right.
handsome.
Yeah.
Some of those things.
Yeah.
Illustrious is cool, man.
All right, cool. Word. Yeah, I like that. I was an English teacher for about 10 years, so I
Okay.
got a little bit of a vocabulary.
Yeah,
so
there we go.
Yeah, but all those work. Prolific, handsome,
You know your
illustrious.
terminology, clearly.
There you
You know what
go.
I'm saying?
We love a good, a good dad.
Dad joke.
Dad
Yeah.
joke. Exactly.
Little
I love
verbiage.
It. I love it. Those are my favorite. Well, man, it's an honor to have you here, man. For real.
No doubt.
I've been wanting to have you on for quite a while, and I'm glad we're able to do it.
Happy to be here, man.
Fantastic. How you doing today? Good.
I feel amazing.
Yeah?
I had a great day. Yeah,
Awesome.
honestly. It's been a great day. It's been a great week. Had a crazy week last week running
Yeah, with the
around
album
with
release
Primo
party.
and Bun and Statik and Bronze and my whole team and, you know, just doing all kinds of like cool. I really had a great month. I just did like the coolest stuff ever. March Madness for real. It was really wild.
Yeah, I love it. And you just had your album release party for your brand new album, Things I've Seen.
Yes,
And,
yes, we did.
in New York, which I heard was a banger. We got actually a few people that were in attendance, and we got
Yeah,
a little,
yeah.
small little studio audience right now. We
Yeah,
got,
yeah,
We got,
nah.
Pete, we got Repeat from Say That back there,
Yeah.
and obviously your manager Pat, who's
Yeah.
who I've known for quite a long time.
We love Pat.
We do love
My
Pat.
man Chico in
We
here.
do love Pat.
Yeah,
Chico,
definitely.
yeah.
Nah, man, the album release party was amazing. A lot of friends and family came out. You know, a lot of times when I throw parties in New York, it's really special because half the people in the room is from out of town. It's
Yeah.
not only New York people.
That's dope.
And some of my New York friends made a big deal out of that. Like, Term's the only person out here that we know that throws a party in Brooklyn, and like he asked, like, where's everybody from? And it's Connecticut, it's Boston, we
Yeah.
got Detroit, we got Utah. Half the room is you know, from out of town, and the other half the room is from New York. So New York being a second home to me. Usually anytime I ever throw any kind of event in New York, it's always lit. But yeah, that was a good time. A lot of people came out. 2 days prior to that, we had Bun B's secret birthday party, which me and Bun performed with DJ Premier and Statik. Impromptu, random performance that we all didn't know we were gonna do. It just happened. And Primo put that on his Instagram and filmed it. So just such a cool week, man.
Hell yeah. I love it. Well, we love to get started on the show. We like to start with a segment called The Objective, where we get to know a little bit about you and your background. And
Yeah.
one of the things I've been wanting to ask is about, obviously, your come up in the Lawrence and Merrimack Valley,
Yeah.
obviously area. You still rep it as hard as you have from the start to this day, which I have always appreciated of you kind of from afar, that you still rep for the hometown and all that. But what I think was really interesting about your come up is that you kind of didn't really come up necessarily alone. Like, you had people like Statik and Reks, and even, of course, rest in peace to Nawlege. Like, Lawrence,
Yeah.
there was just still like such a renaissance of hip hop at that time. So I
Yeah.
guess my first question, and I don't know if there's a good answer for it, but like, was it kind of just like a right group of people, right time situation, or was there something maybe unique and special about all of you sort of like ascending at around the same time that you all did?
I think like in hip hop, there's always waves, right? You always get like the minute like Atlanta really, really popped off, they took over hip hop. And there was a time where Houston really popped off. They took over hip hop. There's different pockets. Like Detroit was crazy hot at one point. They actually even are right now with the resurgence of, you know, the new style of Detroit hip hop they're doing now. So I think we all just kind of have our moment. And when it comes to like independent underground hip hop, Boston and the surrounding cities has always been a mecca. Like, people around the world will all tell you like, yo, what was the most lit tour stop, oh, Boston, man, the fans there are really live. So, Boston and the surrounding cities just always had that energy. We kind of always had a chip on our shoulder, like we're like the little brother of New York. We're close enough to New York that we dress like them, we sound like them. We kind of have a similar vibe when it comes to making music, but we just didn't get our props and our due. So I think at the same time that the Reks and Statik, myself, Easy Money, ST, all the Lawrence, Haverhill, Lowell guys, like the 978 guys, like really needed to like put our imprint on the game, because Boston already has some real legendary decorated MCs with Edo G and Acrobatic and all those other guys that came before us. There was like a lot of love in the Beam, but it was no love in the 978. Very, very small amount of people that had success, maybe Scientific, Crumb Snatcher, a couple others, and even those guys were co-signed by like DJ Premier and RZA and others. It kind of always took like somebody from outside of the city to recognize you, which is fine because that's hip hop. But yeah, something in the water for sure. Because man, all those guys you mentioned and all those guys I mentioned are legends. You know what I mean? And at one time we were just the homies that nobody knew. So it all worked out that we all had this dream and we all made it in this hip hop stuff and made a name for our hood.
No, that's awesome. It's really cool. And then of course you had mentioned it earlier that New York's kind of like a second home to you, and really early on you've been very much back and forth between here and New York, and same with Statik. So take me a little bit through that, not only that journey of like how you sort of started to kind of put your foot in New York, so to speak, but then also at the same time, like the challenges of having to go back and forth as much as you did early on and still do, really.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I went back and forth twice last week. You know what I mean? Like I went on Tuesday, I did Bun's birthday party. I drove back home Tuesday, the same day, you know what I mean? And then on Wednesday, did a bunch of stuff and then went back Thursday and then drove back Sunday. So it doesn't stop. The grind don't stop. But I think the cool part about it now is like I got it down to a science. It was a little different when I was like, teenage years or like early 20s years. It was a lot of like taking the Fenghua bus, taking the Spanish bus, taking the train, just like those far travels when you're all by yourself was way harder than me being like, yo, Pat, pick me up. All right, cool. I'll be outside your house at 10 o'clock. What a blessing that I got to the point where I have a team and I have people that I have resources. I have people that can and will pick me up and will take the ride with me. Where, man, those other times it was like, man, I have a box with 100 CDs because this is pre-streaming and pre-Serato, and I'm running, trying to catch the bus, running with 100 CDs with my backpack on with, my 2 or 3 fits in my bag. And all I know is that, man, I got to get on this bus and get to New York by a certain time so I could get from Manhattan to Brooklyn to get to this show and give these CDs out. And it's like, bro, that struggle and that grind is something that is special and is definitely missing now. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to sit up here and be like, back in my days and you young guys don't pay your dues. I don't want to go down that route. I would just say that, now it's like you make a song on your phone and you put it on SoundCloud or whatever and it's out and you're a rapper. You go to social media, my song's out, I'm a rapper. And now in that era, we had to do all of that to be a rapper. And we had to do that every week. Or if not, you were going to be a local rapper and you weren't going to really go far. You know what I mean? So you had to take those chances and go through those missions, man. But those missions are what separate artists like Statik and myself, because we both went through that for years and years and years and years until finally Statik moved to New York in 2004 and was like, Term, if you want to make it, you got to move here. So then I went to his house and slept on his couch, for years, for like 2 years until in 2007 I finally moved out there and followed his footsteps. And it just kind of seems to be like that's what, has always happened from the beginning of time. It happened with Guru, right? Happened with Millie's. It happened, with a lot of artists. Some of the bigger artists now in mass moved to LA and got popping in LA and then moved back, or, still rep, but now they're out there. So it's kind of like, you hit a ceiling in Boston because there's no radio stations and there's no infrastructure. There's not much label presence and there's not much industry. It's getting a little better now, but just overall, generally, there's not a big infrastructure in Massachusetts. So you have to go to other places and then come back home once you got the power and the plugs and grab people from back home and put them on it. You just have to.
I'm glad you're bringing this up because it kind of dawns on me now, like with you having such this longevity and experience in the industry as you have, and recognizing as we all do that Boston doesn't really have, like you said, infrastructure. I think that's always been the biggest issue. Like,
Definitely.
how do you think that can change, and what do you think it would take to change? Now, outside of like the fact that when you're in New York or in LA or Chicago, Atlanta, Tennessee, Nashville, even, right? Like,
Yeah.
you can kind of walk down the street and walk into any sort of record label. You can't really
Right.
do that here. Like,
Not at
so outside of maybe something like that, like what else do you think might give Boston that opportunity? Because there is a ton of talent here.
Yeah.
And I think it would be amazing if artists from this area felt like they could stay
Right.
and make a solid enough living to the
Yeah.
point where, they wouldn't have to. They could travel to LA and New York when they wanted to,
Right.
but they could be housed here. Like, I
That's
don't know if there's a
the-
good answer, but
There really isn't, because that's the age-old question and the age-old consensus and the age-old complaint is just like two things. One, nobody supports each other out here, and that's why we're not popping. Or there's no infrastructure, and neither changes. So what does everybody do? Individuality. I gotta go get it for myself because there's no other way to get it. And I think that until both of those things change, like at the same time, you can't really have one without the other, because when an artist blows up from the city and then nobody else blows up from the city, unfortunately, everybody's like, why him? Why not me? And then it's less support for said artist because it's only so long you can clap for that artist until you got to be like, yo, I'm wasting all my energy clapping for this person. I gotta wake up and clap for myself. And friendly competition is one thing and supporting your friends is one thing, but it's a way of life out here that everybody just takes care of themselves, you know what I mean? Unfortunately. And it is a lot of like crab in a barrel mentality as well. It's always just kind of been like that from the beginning of time. Like, I've been rapping since a kid. Literally since a kid, it's always been why him, not me. You know what I'm saying? So that kind of mentality is I think what needs to get fixed more than the infrastructure. Because, if you put in work and you do good business and you align yourself with people, there is a lot of people out here that could really help you. You know what I mean? But you got to give people a reason to want to work with you. And then you have to go above and beyond, and there's more levels to that. You know what I mean? But I do think things are changing for the better overall.
yeah, even just like the 6 years I've been involved, in the scene, as much as I have been, obviously, I've definitely seen a shift. I've definitely seen a massive shift over the last even 2-3 years. It's been seeming like it's getting better.
There's pride now in the city more now. And I think that for a long time, it was like people in the city. And when I say the city, I just mean like every Boston and surrounding cities.
Right.
Like, there was always kind of this notion like, nobody doing nothing out here, so I'm not going to support it anyway. And now it's more like, yo, come on, y'all, let's get it together.
Exactly.
So now it's going in the right direction.
100%.
Now, you know what I'm saying? I think that the city got to pick and choose who they want to get behind.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you one thing. If the city chooses not to get behind you, that's totally fine. There's mad other cities you can go to.
For sure.
So
For sure.
if you ain't that guy out here because they don't choose you to be the mayor or the governor or whatever, there's another city that might like you right down the street. So
Fair enough.
don't get discouraged. You know what I mean? I happen to be somebody that's pretty beloved by the rest of the world and at home. But man, listen, it was a lot of hate at home too sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
So you got to fight through that. But yeah, man.
Yeah,
Just put in the work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I find that to be one of the bigger issues is like I think getting like the average, Boston citizen to care about the art scene. I think that's been one of the biggest hurdles. Like, for example, like I've thrown about 6 or 7 shows in the last 18 months or so, and like so I have like a lot of friends from different pockets and spaces in my life, and so I was getting them to these shows, and then by the end of the night they're like, oh my god, there's like 3 different artists on this bill I absolutely loved, and I want to like stream their music.
You might have never heard of before that night.
Exactly. And they don't realize that it's in their backyard, you know what I mean? And there's so many, I think that it's more of that, I think of trying to get the average average person who might be a music fan but doesn't even realize that there was a Boston scene. Like I was one of those people.
Right.
I didn't really understand what the Boston scene was. I only honestly had only known names like yourself and
Right.
Millie's and Bia
Yeah.
and Joyner Lucas and
And there's nothing
to
wrong
name a
with that
few.
either, because
No, for sure.
we the ones making some real noise
Of
enough
course.
for you to know.
Of course, having yes,
You know
absolutely.
what I mean? But yeah, you're right, bro.
But I was like almost like the tip of the iceberg. There was so much underneath that I was like, oh my God. And I feel like I'm still learning and
Yeah.
still finding new artists that I didn't know before. It's just when I feel like I've known everybody, someone else
Yeah.
pops up and I'm like,
I mean,
damn.
it's much different for us that grew up in it. I've been like,
for sure.
I've been going to shows around here since a teenager, right?
Right.
So I've been knowing these guys since I was a kid. They all tell stories of me coming from my prom and hopping out of a limo and going on stage at Bill's Bar, Fenway, rocking and getting back in the limo and going back to my prom. There's stories of that. So with me, I look at the Boston scene different. Like, you know, that's more than half of my life that I've been a part of that scene.
Definitely.
And even when I was far removed from the scene, when I'm like not so locally accessible because I'm doing 40 countries, I'm going, you know, doing 10, 15 country tours, and I'm outside. I'm not necessarily doing local stuff. I always did mad local shows every year. I always came back and did the Middle East. I always came back and like popped out for my friends at their release parties and stuff like that. So, you know, I think it's cool to give back and to help artists, you know, but you also don't want to make yourself too accessible, because then they kind of look at you like, we see him every day.
Sure.
You know, so it's a perfect mixture of that.
I think it's actually a great segue to the next segment of the show, which we call the main lesson, and we talk about what you got going on now. And one of the things that I think that I just saw recently that you've been doing is working with the youth out
Yeah,
here,
man.
and
I love
and
it.
teaching
I love
and
it.
giving back and doing one-on-one sessions with artists that are even, you know, I want to say established, but definitely like trying to
Yeah.
find their way in the scene as well. But I just saw that you and John had done
Yeah.
at the Phoenix Charter
Yo,
School,
man,
correct?
I love
In
that.
Lawrence.
I love it.
So tell me a little bit about that, like how you got
For
into
sure.
that
Yeah.
and why that's important to you at this point, stage of your career, to like give back, especially being on the Turntable Teachers, right? We're all about
Yeah.
education. We love
Let's
giving
go.
back. We love education here.
So really that happened because I started my own nonprofit, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I've had the Good Dad Gang movement for like 11 years. And, you know, I've had different people help me out at times, like different other nonprofits and people that like collab with schools and stuff. And so when I was building with DJ Lust, he was telling me that they had music programs and they teach the kids how to make beats and how to DJ, but they would love somebody like me to kind of teach them more about song structure, because they're making songs, but they don't really know how to make songs, right? So he like, what do you think about coming in like, you know, one time and talking to them? And then it kind of turned into more like, well, this is a nonprofit. You know, why don't you come in here and work with this nonprofit, with your nonprofit? And that really just lit the fire for me. Like, okay, I got my own nonprofit now. Let me go work with another nonprofit and see how this works. And once I got in there, it's so much fun. It's like I did it today. You know what I'm saying? I went in there this morning and I sat in there with this kid who's really talented. And watching their process of making music is teaching me. You know, as a teacher, right? You always learn from.
Of course.
You learn from the students as well. So it's been really cool, man. And these are not little kids, you know. These are they're like seniors. You know what I mean? Like they're spitting some real stuff, and they're talented. You know, some of them are beginners. They're just learning how to make beats with John or learning how to DJ with Lus. And then some of them come in like making whole songs, and then I'll be like, so I'll give you an example. For today, what I did, I was like, nah, take that layer out. Nope, don't do that. Do that again. Say that word better. Nope, take that word out. Yeah, you said that same word 5 times. Just say and instead of but. Stuff like that. And then when it's working in real time and they're doing it and they look back, they're like, you see the light go off and you see that one little piece of advice I gave them is like really going to change how they make music and take them from being like an okay artist to a great artist. You know what I mean? Just like those studio tricks that like, they come to me like nothing. This is what I do. I've been in studio my whole life. I love doing that stuff. I've been doing that stuff for my friends my whole life too. So I've technically been doing this forever. It's nothing. It's easy. But it feels even more rewarding to go back to Lawrence and do it in Lawrence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In North Lawrence. Like I grew up right there. Like when I'm there, I was looking out the window today and I'm just looking at my father owned a garage there. I grew up there, like on these streets, little kid riding bikes and just crazy collecting cans and stuff. They go collect cans, put them in the bag, go to the liquor store, get the money. That's how I grew up, Lawrence, in the 80s and 90s. So for me to go back there now, being as established as I am and doing the cool stuff that I do, but then still, you know, going back there and totally humbling myself, and I don't be in there trying to act like a big shot. I go in there, no jury on, know nothing. I'm just in there just trying to build with them, you know what I'm saying? And just try to help them, because I ain't trying to flex on nobody. I'm trying to help. But it's mad fun. It's mad rewarding.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the age. It's like the age where, like, I feel like it could go either way, right? Like they have a passion for it, and if there's someone there in their life that inspires them in some way, that could be the catalyst that pushes them to that sort of next stage to keep going. And one thing you had brought up earlier that I want to harp on as I think a common misconception about education too, it's that, like, and this was when I was getting into it, I felt the exact same way. Like my whole thought process of, you know, why I wanted to get into education was to make an impact and to teach, you know, the youth and all that sort of stuff. But like you said, you don't realize how much you learn as a teacher from the students. Like it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
It's fire.
I actually have a tattoo, and it's a symbol, and essentially what the symbol means is two hands that overlap. And essentially what that means is, like, you know, everyone you come in contact with, like, you're gonna you know, teach them just as much as they're gonna teach you. Like that, that learning is a two-way street, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
And so even though that, you know, you are somebody that has a wealth of knowledge in this area, like, there could be some, you know, there clearly has been a few kids, I'm sure, that you're learning from. And that's, or maybe you're learning a better way, like maybe something you took away from today was like, maybe you're learning a better way to teach something or a more efficient way. You know what I mean? Like,
that's exactly what I learned today.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I was there. I was on the fly on the wall.
Yeah. Last Thursday, it was a girl, and I said, well, what do you want to write about? She's like, I don't know. I said, okay, well, how do you want to sound? She's like, I want to sound like A Boogie. I said, okay, that's fine. So what song you like from A Boogie? Bring it up on YouTube. So we heard it. And then, you know, it was like, that type of flow, right? So I said, all right, practice that. Do that. Let's do it together. You know it, right? Yeah, no, I know it. I know his, though. Okay, cool, but can you do it? And then so, yeah, I could do it. So, for instance, like, yo, I'm thirsty. So say that. She's like, I'm thirsty. All right, now say it on the mic. I'm thirsty. So now it's like, you're already sounding like A Boogie now. But if I didn't give you the quick way to sound like A Boogie, it sounds impossible. I can't sound like him. He's so cool. I wouldn't even know where to start. Now I just showed you. It's that easy. Like, mimic it and then redo it in your own way, you know? And that's where you start. And then you essentially can develop your own style. And that goes for grown-ups. It's not just for kids.
Oh, 100%.
I'm teaching grown men how to rap too, you know? And I'm also teaching I'm teaching like established artists about registering their music with publishing and sound exchange, and like creating their own you know, their Bandcamp channel and selling music versus streaming. And like, I'm teaching all of that stuff with the one-on-one classes too. And it's not only, you know, unsigned artists and up and coming artists. It's like, it's artists that be knowing what they're doing, but maybe they were on a major label their whole life, and now they're independent, and they're like, bro, I don't even know how to do this. So I'm like, go, come over, bro. Just bring a notebook, bring your laptop. I'm gonna show you everything you need to know in 1 hour. And then once you do all that, holla at me, and I'll show you all the follow up. And then when you do that, so it's all knowledge. It's all how much you want to learn and how much you want to put into it. A lot of people, unfortunately, want everybody else to do everything for them. So that's where you get stuck. Because if I give you the list and you don't do it, you just showed me that you don't want it like that.
Right.
And if you do want it like that, you want somebody else to do it. But if you're always doing that, you're not going to go far, because you're going to stop after that one favor.
Yeah. There needs to be some initiative there from the student, or not even the student, but the person that's on that receiving end.
Yeah, you got to want it in this game, bro. This game doesn't have no love for you. This game is foul, and it's like very cutthroat, you know what I mean? A lot of people gonna lie to you and tell you all kind of promises and all kind of stuff like that. So it's like, you really gotta just work at it every single day and not take nothing personal. You just gotta just keep going with it. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta really, I know I said it already like 10 times, but you gotta really want it. You gotta want it more than somebody who has everything that you don't got. There's another person out there that dresses nicer than you, that has more money than you, that is in a better life position. They might be more fit. You know, they might be everything that you want. They got the pretty girl you don't. They got whatever it is that you want. They know how to sing better than you. You know, there's always somebody who got everything, but still, if they're not putting in the work and you putting in the work, you're going to pass them and realize that none of that stuff matters. Or it could be your turn to get whatever you're really seeking if you put in that work. If you don't put in that work, though, woo, you're just going to sit there like feeling, like, damn, what could have been if I put in that work.
For sure. I love it. Well, I appreciate that you're doing that and giving back. I think that's just an absolutely beautiful thing, and especially at the stage of your career, I think it's just like
thank you.
it's a great way to just continue, making the impact you've made for
It's fun,
20
too.
something years.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's fun, too.
It is fun.
Yeah.
It is a good time.
I've been doing the backpack giveaways for 10 years. So it's like,
right.
with that, we've been giving back, and I've been helping artists in studio and stuff, but not like this, not going to an actual school and helping kids at the school. That's just a new level of
totally different
of
environment,
giving back, and also just a new level of like fun. It's really cool, man.
100%.
I enjoy it, honestly.
I love it. Good Dad Gang. I want to talk a little bit more about that, and
Yeah.
specifically the book.
Yeah, man.
That's incredible.
Definitely.
100 Ways to Be a Good Dad.
Yeah, man.
First off, I think that you had talked about this a lot on Pete's on Say That, so I won't like regurgitate a ton of that, but I know that you had talked about on your conversation with Pete that like there's so much out there for moms.
Yeah.
There's not as much out there for dads. So I think that one, I commend you for being somebody that said, I see a little hole here in all this, and I think there's something a way I can fill this, and then just coming from. So I think we had a brief conversation about this when we met. I don't know if you remember, this was in 2022 when you at the Start to Finish album release party at the Bridge Sound and Stage.
Okay.
I had never met you before, and I had walked up, and I didn't realize you were doing the Good Dad Gang thing. I'd heard your music for years, but I had walked up to you and I said, hey, listen, coming from somebody that didn't have a dad in their life and that really wants to do that for their future kids, like you spoke to me that day. So I just want to say thank you. I appreciate that.
doubt.
And I think you're impacting not only fathers, but like soon to be fathers or men or young men that maybe are thinking like, do I want to be a father? Would I be a good father? 'Cause you know what I mean? I think when I was that age, I always, not to get too vulnerable, but like I just felt like I always questioned if I could be given without that. So I think I just wanted to mention that. I appreciate you, your impact there.
I appreciate you, man. You're welcome. I'm happy that I was able to impact you in that way.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I get DMs every day, bro. I got like 5 of them today.
Yeah.
And it's like, yo, I'm just trying to be a better dad, and thank you for inspiring me, and this page means so much to me, or that post meant so much to me, your book means so much to me, wearing the shirt means so much to me. And that's why I did it. That's why I started doing it. I had no clue it was gonna blow up and become a household name and a clothing brand, and we were gonna do all these collaborations and work with famous people and backpack giveaways. I just love my kids, man, and I just wanted to represent that and be a better dad than my dad was. And I'm not throwing shots at him. He just wasn't the best. So it's like him not being the best dad taught me how to be the best dad I could be. And also, as time passed, I was like, certain things I did take from him. I'm like, yo, he worked really hard. So maybe that's the route to go. I'm going to work really hard, even though I might have not agreed with certain methods of how he raised me and my sister. But there was some really great things that he did teach me, like the work ethic and having respect for like your elders and things of that nature. So I just try to pass the good stuff I got from my dad onto the kids, and then I also try to make up my own stuff that I can pass to them too.
That's amazing. In terms of the book, I'm very curious because I know all the chapters are, of course, important and special in your own rights. It's almost like making you choose one of your children or one of your favorite songs. But having said that, was there a chapter as you were writing it that you felt the most vulnerable, or I would say was maybe the most difficult to write? If you, without thinking too hard about it, like was there a specific chapter that maybe fits that criteria? Yeah,
it was hard. It took me almost 4 years to write that book. And first of all, it's the first book of its kind, right? There's been other books, self-help books for dad, but there's never really been a self-help book written specifically for fathers that's coming from the perspective of a single dad, a dad who's not married. I'm Latino. I grew up in a poor community. Literally grew up in Lawrence, Mass, the poorest city in Mass, and also one of the poorest cities in America.
For sure.
So these are statistical facts. So coming from that, the books that I did read, mostly some of them were from people that had a good career. They had a good career. Their wife had a good career. They're married. They got the picket fence, the dog. They're financially stable. Things of that nature. Some of them were more God-fearing people that went to church, and some of them, just kind of it was not like really broken home book. So my book is like, what do you do if, you have visitation and your visitation is only once a week, and it's your day, and you go to McDonald's at 3 o'clock where you're supposed to meet your kid's mom to pick up this kid, and at 3 o'clock she doesn't show up and she don't pick up the phone. Now what do? The first thing first, you're gonna be heartbroken. You might be enraged. You might be, who knows what emotion you're feeling. It's not right. It's really not right. And depending on what the court order is, depending on many factors, it's almost like kidnapping, Like if you just took the kid and didn't bring the kid back at the right time, it would be and could be kidnapping. So it's like, it doesn't feel good inside when somebody's playing games with your baby. It hurts a lot. And I went through some things like that, you know what I mean? So one of the chapters was like, well, what do you do if that happens, right? Do you race over to her house? Where's my kid? Banging on the door. That seems like, with a clear mind, that seems like a recipe for disaster, right? Also, that seems like you're right. That's your child. So you're conflicted. Do I do what's right, and go get my kid? It's my day. Or do I make it worse going over there and possibly turn into a domestic dispute? They call the cops. I break a court order. Things could get physical. You got the baby crying now. There's so many things that could go wrong with that. But you the one that's getting, screwed over. Like, you showed up, you want to see your kid, and they are holding your kid from you. And there's no good reason other than today's a Wednesday and I feel like messing with this guy. That being said, I kind of was like, cool down, take it easy. Don't get physical. Don't go crazy. Don't threaten. Go the proper routes if you can. If you have an attorney, call the attorney and try to handle it that route. Try to handle it like that. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're missing in our community for sure. And not only in our community, but that's what we're missing overall, as fathers that get treated like, second-rate citizens that want to be in our kids' life. We don't get treated like real parents. A lot of times we get treated like an ATM, and we get treated like a babysitter, and we don't have the same rights, and we're not looked at as a real parent. A lot of times we're not, depending on the stipulations that you made in court. You might not even have medical rights. Like, your kid gets in a car accident and only one parent has the say on whether we pull the plug or not. Like, what? It should be both parents.
Right.
That's not the way the law's set up, and you only get what you negotiate. So man, it gets real deep, and it does get sad. You can probably hear the pain in my voice just
For sure.
seeing what I've seen in my life, on seeing all the dads and what they go through, what we go through, and seeing what people who follow Good Dad Gang go through and what they, say to me in my DMs, and then seeing the things I went through. And those were like the hard chapters where I'm like, hey man, keep it cool. I know it's not right what's happening to you, but like, you'll thank me in the end if you want a healthy relationship with your child, to just try to do the right thing. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's the wrong thing they're doing to you,
Right.
you got to do the right thing.
Exactly.
For the grand scheme of things. Plus, God sees everything. Energy, it's all going to come back around. So it's really hard though, because man, a lot of us, we don't know how to diffuse situations. Instead, we're just blowing up. And those situations are hard, you know what I'm saying? And some of those were not about me. Some of them were written like about my friends, or like more like case by case basis, or like what if happens. And some of them were directly about me, like, yo, this actually happened to me. Trust me, you don't want to go this way, because once it goes this way, it's gonna go left. You know what I'm saying? So I think I was really able to help with those type of situations, because some of them are like, hey, don't give your kid McDonald's every day. It's probably not good. It's packed with sugar and GMOs, and like, okay, that should be common knowledge. It's not, but it should be at this point. We're in 2025, right? You should know that you don't give the kids fast food every day. That being said, some people still will, and they don't see nothing wrong with it. Cool. There's other stuff like, financial advice, like maybe you should open a bank account when the kid's, small college fund, like some stuff like that that's a little bit easier, like going. And then there's the stuff like that, like, yo, your kid is like being kept from you, and how you keep your cool is heartbreaking. So that's one thing that I think that really stuck out about my book, especially from what other people have told me. Like, yo, bro, I really needed that. I didn't know how to diffuse the situation rather than wild out, or I didn't know other people were going through that, or I didn't even know I could go and ask the judge for like an emergency meeting with the judge because I can't see my kid. I just thought I can't see the kid. All right, whatever, I can't see the kid. And now I'm not seeing the kid for months, and now so it's like, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to teach people, man.
I love it. Oh, I think you're making, and I know you're making an incredible impact on so many men in this world that have probably picked up that book and read it. And like you said, just the testament that you get in messages. And I think it's important. I think it's important, especially as men, and with men's mental health being still as well a piece of this, as a part of this, as being a bit still a little taboo, not as taboo as it once was, but I think like we're starting
a little taboo.
It's a little bit, but
it's getting better.
Getting better.
It definitely.
All these
it
things
was
are
super taboo. Let's say 10 years ago,
for sure,
or whatever.
100%.
Now it's kind of. Excuse me. Now it's kind of like, all right, everybody knows that we need to do better and take care of ourselves with mental health. It's starting 100%. To come to that space, which I think is finally gonna create a safe space for men to be looked at as humans and not just ATMs and people that are just supposed to always be saving your life and doing everything for you, So I think that
you can get emotional.
Yeah, for sure, man. And we get sad and we get depressed, and there's tons of men kill themselves every year because they can't see their kid. There's a whole website about it. There's a whole case studies about it. These are facts. And excuse me, one thing that I really kept on my mind was when I was trying to write the book, I tried to write it from a neutral space because I didn't want nobody to feel like I was women bashing. And I grew up more with my mom, not my dad. So my mom is the superhero in my case, right? So I know the value of a good mom. To me, my mom was way more valuable than my dad. She was there more. She taught me more. She was nicer. You know what I'm saying? Just overall, my mom was the one. So that being said, the book was not bashing moms at all. At some point, though, in the book, I have to also stand up for men because they're getting kicked when they're down.
Right.
So if you take it like I'm telling people to stand up for themselves, like I'm telling you that I don't like you or I'm talking down on you, that's that might be something you got to deal with on your own.
Right.
But I feel like the opposite happened. I've had women hit me up like, yo, I read your book. It made me understand my husband more now. I read your book. It was great. I'm really going to suggest it to my baby daddy or my brother. So it actually did the opposite of what I feared. I feared women thought I would be bashing them, and instead they're like, yo, thank you. So I'm happy for that.
Amazing. I mean, it definitely takes courage too, because like you said, like you wouldn't want that to be misconstrued.
Yeah, it easily could be.
Easily could have been, 100%.
Any post you put on Instagram that is any bit like has to do with men versus women, half the comments will be split, and you already know what they're gonna. Before I open the comments, I know what they're gonna say.
100%.
Same with that. I would put up good dad gang, and immediately I see a woman. Yeah, right. These guys don't want to see their kids. They're a piece of shit. Like, all right, just tell us you chose a whack baby daddy. Just tell us, because
those exist, of course.
Couldn't be talking about me,
right?
But you're clearly talking about what you did. But then that becomes a general consensus, and it's like, dog, it's hard. You know what I mean? I don't argue with people on Instagram at all. I promise you.
No need. For
no
it.
comment arguing here.
No need for
you
it.
You get blocked, deleted, or ignored, and we move on to real things that matter in this world.
Absolutely. I mean, there's plenty of the stuff going on in the world that we need to be a lot more
facts
focused on. Speaking of arguing, though, no one can argue your discography, man.
That's
that
a
is
fact.
Unreal. Over 50 albums. Like, are you for real?
Cheers
like, it's crazy. You just released another one. You had one at the end of 2024 with Technology that came out in December, and then you had just this recent one, Things I've Seen, which the title track I feel like was one of your more vulnerable tracks I've heard in quite a while. So that was
tough hearing it back, actually.
Was it?
Because I did it when I was in Detroit and I forgot about it. And then like when the album came out and everybody was playing it, I forgot it was first.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
It's like kinda, really deep.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is rough. You know what I mean? But
like you got personal on that.
It was fact. Everything I said was a fact. And I could play it in front of my mom and my kids, my cousins, my homies, and everybody was like, yeah, it's true. I was there, so it's not like I was capping. So, when it's real, it's like, fuck how anybody feels. It's real. You know what I'm saying? So my dad used to tell me, "Why you always dissing me in your songs?" I said, "Why you do all that shit to me that I had to say it in the song?"
Exactly.
So it's like when it's real,
me the
yo, you know
material.
what I mean? It is what it is. But
Right.
rest in peace, my dad. I love my dad. He was so cool, man. But yeah, man, the discography is crazy, bro. I love it. I love it. It's clearly my passion, making projects, making albums, putting out music, being competitive, getting on songs with other artists that I look up to, and sharpening my sword when it comes to bars. That's how I came in the game, as a battle rapper, as a cypher rapper, as a real MC. And we always wanted to kill the beat and have the hardest verse and be the people, have the verse that people ran back and recited and stuff like that. So I still come at my music with that energy.
Clearly you're an album artist. We know that.
Yeah.
Project artist, right? So, but we're in a shift. We've been in a shift in the music industry where it's obviously a lot more single driven, shorter EPs. Have you felt any sort of pushback from not some like people necessarily telling you, but just like the way music has gone, like, and how, and have you found a struggle in fighting that? Because clearly your passion is like, I am putting out projects. I don't care what the industry is going, right? You know what I mean? You've kind of just, kind of drawn your line in the sand. You're like, no, I'm not. Not that you haven't released a single, but I'm just saying that, like, it's always
I release hundreds of singles.
But it's most of the time I feel like it's always connected to a project. So in a day and age where we're so single driven and the 2-minute song and all that sort of stuff, like, how do you feel about where obviously you're at within this newer era of music?
Yeah, you can take advice. You can listen to what's going on. You can be aware of what's going on, and I think you should do all that stuff. But man, I clearly know what I'm doing, so I'll take any advice from anybody, and I think it's cool to update the formula and maybe try some things. But man, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This is clearly working for me. I'm doing 3 to 4 albums a year. They're doing well. I'm doing vinyl, I'm doing CD, I'm doing tapes, I'm doing Spotify, I'm doing Apple Music, I'm doing tours, I'm doing books, I'm doing sneaker deals, I'm doing all kind of great
deals. Get your Monster all
got
here.
Monster editing deal. I got all kind of stuff popping. So clearly I know what I'm doing, and I love the fans that I have. They're very loyal. They've been stuck behind me, and they pretty much get behind anything I do. And I also love making new fans. So. One way that I've been able to navigate through the game, watching the game change all the time, is just like keeping my ear to the street and working with newer artists. So when I find out somebody's popping, if I'm a fan of them, sometimes I'll reach out or have one of my friends reach out, or they might come through Statik Show. I'll meet them that way, or we end up on a show together, or we follow each other on social media, and it turns into a collab, or it turns into at least some kind of rapport where we're liking each other's picks, supporting. And then I'm kind of like, now every time I hear that voice, I'm like, oh, okay, this is what's going on now. This is how people dressing or sounding, or these are the beats that they picking. So rather than like feeling any pressure that I got to do what everybody else is doing, I think it's better to just stay doing what I'm doing, but also connect with everybody else in the industry to try to just collaborate with everybody else and just learn from everybody else and apply it. Like one thing I'll say is, a lot of people been like, okay, I did an interview, and the girl was reading the back of the Termanology, and she was like, 14 songs? Oh my God, this is long. I was like, no, that's actually an album. That's actually that's a very average song album. Like
when I was growing up and I was buying all these albums,
my favorite album is Doggy Style. It has 19 songs.
There you go.
On it.
Yeah, Speaker Box Love Below is one of my favorites. That's got friggin' almost 30,
25
20
songs
each side. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
So it's okay that dudes are making 5-song albums now. Like I get that's kind of like the thing, but I'm good to do one of those once in a while. But that's not how I make albums. I make albums modeled after the albums I love, which is like The Chronic and Doggy Style and Capital Punishment, and all these albums that I thought were albums. They had an intro, they had an outro, they had a single, they had a feature track. They might have had a couple, different waves where it went up and down. They had a sad track, a happy track for the ladies. You know what I'm saying? It was like, it brought you on a journey of who this artist is in their life. It's not like, let me make the first 5 songs I can make, slap a cover on it and just sell it. Like, that's cool too, because that's kind of where we're at with the attention span. But at the same time, I think that works for like a certain demographic and it works for some projects, but I'm in the business of making masterpieces. You know what I mean? I want to make masterpieces still. I want to, like, when all that wave comes and goes, people are always going to know that a good album is still a good album. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
A great album is a great album. So
100%. 100%.
I'm going to stick with that formula. But, you know, it's cool to do collab EPs, and it's cool to just do, like, you know, quick. I did the summer pack. It's only 6 songs. So it's just like, all right, it's for the summer. Here's 6 songs. That's me making my rendition of doing what everybody else is doing right now. So I can still update the formula, but then you got technology, and then you got things I've seen, which are real full albums, intros, outros, singles, big videos. You know, your song that's just kind of like the sleeper on the album nobody knows about, but it's your joint. Like, yo, y'all ain't up on this. You know what I mean? So I'm from that era, man. I'm still stuck in that era, but I still kind of like try to at least know what's going on and compete with, you know, whatever else is coming out.
Makes total sense. Well, people, Things I Seen out now. Make sure you stream it. All right,
on vinyl.
On vinyl. We're going to link in the description. And speaking of vinyl, don't go anywhere. We're going to take a really quick break. You're going to see a little dissolve transition here into the next segment. This is going to be a very unique pop quiz segment. We're going to bring on actually another special guest. We're going to do some vinyl talk. But so we're going to be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, so as I mentioned, this is a very unique segment of Pop Quiz, and this is going to be a vinyl edition. We've never done this before, but we have 2 vinyl heads here. Of course, Term, as most people know. If you don't, actually, I shouldn't assume. If you don't know, Term has an immaculate vinyl collection. It's way more expensive than what I have, so I'm just going to point that out. And he brought along a very special guest. We have Chico joining us for this segment of the show. How you doing, Chico? It's nice to meet you.
Good. Nice to meet you as well.
I heard you're quite the vinyl connoisseur yourself. You got quite the something like that. We're about to find out.
Dog, I promise you, man. My collection got nothing on Chico's, man. This guy's collection is incredible, and I have quite the collection. So it says a lot about Chico. I brought him for a reason.
I trust you.
Yeah,
I 100% trust you.
This guy's serious with the vinyl and the collectibles.
So if you were to guess, or if you, I don't know, maybe you do know, how many vinyls do you think you have in your collection? If you were to guess.
Probably about like 20,000.
20,000?
Yeah, something
Wow. Holy shit.
That's just with the wax,
Insane.
Wow. 20,000.
Yeah, and I cut it down, you know, I'm trying to get rid of the fat, just keep it lean.
Yeah.
Holy
I got
shit.
about maybe 2,000.
2,000?
Maybe around 2,000.
Right.
And I got like 3,000 CDs.
Okay.
Because I'm really, CDs were my thing more than vinyl, but I love vinyl. So I probably got about 2,000 to 3,000 vinyl and like 3,000 CDs.
Well, you came up in the CD era, I feel like.
Yeah,
like that
I
was
did.
like kind of, so I feel like that makes more sense. But
yeah, vinyl was more expensive. It was more hard to get.
For sure.
You know what I mean? A CD was easier. You pop it in your car.
Yeah. I feel like when I was growing up, so I'm 31, so I'm, you know, I grew up in the CD era as well. I was buying CDs, but I felt like, you know, the last maybe 10 or so years, I feel like vinyl has kind of made a comeback. Like now it's almost popular again to
it's
like
lit.
buy vinyl, and everyone's more pressing vinyl now. Like
everybody got vinyl.
Which is
it's
nice.
$50, you know.
Yeah, some of them.
Yeah, man.
Prices went up, it's crazy.
It tripled, 4 times, quadrupled, all that.
Prices
it's
went
crazy,
up.
but it's good to see it back because we love it.
Of course.
It was
it's
a point.
fun.
It was a point where it was starting to kind of die down, especially for hip hop cats. So when it really made a resurgence, it was great.
Yeah.
Great news for us because we were like, word, okay, all our music we love is coming out on vinyl again.
100%.
So yeah, I love that.
So you see, obviously, some of my favorite vinyls are on the wall, and I'm curious. I want to start with you, Term. What are some of like your staple, you know, vinyls that have really been sort of important to you in your career? Like I know you brought a few today. I'm really curious if you could take us through a couple.
Yeah, I brought a couple that just I love. I'm not gonna say these are the most rare or the most expensive, but you know, knowing that I was coming here today and it, you know, the show is, you know, loosely based on vinyl, I was like, you know what? Let me pull a couple of things out of my collection, out of my crates, and I'm down to So can I?
Absolutely,
Right,
yeah. Bring them on. Let's do it.
Cool, yeah. I'll show you a couple pieces I brought. So what camera do I point at? Like
You're on the left.
Straight up? All right.
Left camera's good
so
for you.
we'll start with let's just start with this. Eric B. Rakim with the crowd.
Classic right there.
Classic.
Classic.
This is one of my favorite songs of all time.
Another classic.
They reminisce over you. My
yep.
daughter's name is Reminisce.
Is it actually?
It is. My
I
daughter's
love
name is.
that.
I tell Pete Rock and CL Smooth this all the time. When I
No
see them.
shit. What's been their reaction to hearing that?
What? Then me and CL have the same birthday, the 8th of October.
Okay.
and my mom's name is Pam.
Wow.
That's crazy.
So
Yeah.
that
And my
kind of
aunt's
all
name
works, right?
is Joyce.
Yeah, that's ill.
All the references in this song just go with my life.
That's awesome.
So that's cool. What do we got? We got Tupac, How Do You Want It?
Okay.
You know, just such a classic.
Of
you know what I
course.
mean? So,
Of course.
some of these are like they're just like, this one right here is one of my favorite. Tribe Called Quest Scenario. This is a different cover though. There's like 3 different covers to this. This is like the OG one. Am I right, Chico? This is the OG
Yes,
one?
sir. Yep.
Yep. This is the 91 version. There was like a couple different versions, but this is the OG. What else do we got? This is like a super favorite of mine.
Ooh, Mobb Deep. There we go.
Yeah, Mobb Deep, Godfather Part 3. If you can see, I got the date when I bought it. I bought it October 14th, 97, and I paid $5.49 for it. So that goes to show you that you can't buy a vinyl for $5 anymore.
Unless it's used at like some
Yeah.
used store
We got
or whatever.
Paid in Full, you know.
More Eric B. Love it.
What'd you say?
One of the greatest hip hop.
One of the greatest hip hop albums.
Definitely.
This is we got World Class Wrecking Crew, right? So you see Dr. Dre when he was a doctor. Like, you know what I mean? Like this is pre NWA. You know what I'm saying? This is World Class Wrecking Crew. So if you know, you know. It says, you know, Scratch, Andre Young, Dr. Dre. So that's pretty cool. That one I really love. This one I really love because I just love DITC. Rest in peace. You know, Big L. And this one is cool because it's signed by Lord Finesse.
Wow, I was gonna say, yeah, that totally looks.
Yeah, this one is signed, so this one is extra special to me. This one is really cool because if you know, you know, right? So this one,
Ooh.
right?
Yeah.
Jay-Z, Magna Carta. But what's cool about this is that only certain ones have an extra vinyl in the back, and you would have to cut this open with a razor, and you pull the vinyl out and you play the hidden song.
No shit.
So very rare. I paid $250 for this. It's worth more, but I paid $250 for this one. So this is just,
Wow.
you know, something cool. You know, when you find something like this, you could get your hands on it. You get your hands on
Well,
it.
collector's
You know
item.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So that one's cool. To me, this is one of my favorite albums of all time.
Okay.
Ghostface, Iron Man. As you see, signed by Ghostface. You know what I mean? So this is, I'm never going to sell this or give this away. You know, this is not only one of my favorite albums, but signed by Ghost. We got another one of my favorite albums, Tony Touch, Peacemaker. As you see, Tony Touch, Love You Term. You know what I mean? That's my OG. So, you know, that one is signed as well. And what else we got? So this one right here I brought, because, like, if you like
Ooh,
underground...
Jedi Mind Tricks. Yeah,
man,
bro.
If you, Violent by Design, man, this record is rare. And if you got this bad boy, like, this is a really good one to have if you like that indie hip-hop, you know what I'm saying? That era when we was all coming up, like, all trying to put out music. Like, this is one that really meant a lot to me.
I used to love Jedi Mind Tricks. I haven't listened to
We
it
got
so
this one, signed by Capadonna. I met him at Tower Records in 1997. You can see how old it is. It says to Danny. It has my government name, so it wasn't even Termanology yet, you know. And we took a picture. I took a picture with Capadonna.
yeah, man.
So this is a pretty
so cool.
pretty cool one. What else we got? This is a favorite right here, Bad Meets Evil. So if you know about Bad Meets Evil, that's the group of Eminem and Royce da 5'9". This is the first Bad Meets Evil. This is the original.
Wow.
I had this since back then. We got a Fat Joe Success joint. This one was signed to my man Easy Money's cousin. So it's autographed by Joe. It wasn't autographed to me, but it ended up in my house somehow. So this is cool because it's signed by Joe. We got One Love original from Nas. You know, Illmatic being one of my favorite albums. We got that. Boom. Royce da 5'9", one of my favorite beats. Primo just totally destroyed that beat. What else we got? Fat Joe Don Cartagena. It's one of my favorite albums of all time.
I've listened to
Big
that
Pun,
one.
Capital Punishment.
Of course.
Definitely
Classic.
one of the best albums of all time. We got the NWA Express Yourself. I actually did this song over with Talib Kweli in Consequence on Statik's first album. So if you ever heard that, check that out. We got the Snoop Dogg
What's my name?
What's my name?
There
Made
you
in
go.
England. So this is, you know how they did the imports.
Yeah.
You can only get it if you got it like in Europe or Japan.
Wow.
So they would have imported versions. So that's just some of my favorites that I
love
brought.
it.
You know what I mean? I didn't want to like OD with it, but
No, this
I
was
brought
so
some
cool.
some cool ones that that mean a lot to me as a collector.
Fire.
And as you see, some of them I've had since a kid, like the Mobb Deep one I bought like in '96, which I had to be like 14. You know what I mean? And I still got it. So
I love it.
those are some bad boys I brought.
Those are
You know what I mean?
Those are dope.
Yeah.
You got him beat on the number, but I think he has more sign than you do. Would be my guess. Is that?
I don't
I
know.
got too many to bring.
Chico would have had a back of U-Haul up over
I
here.
won't let nobody sign them now.
Yeah.
Chico, what'd you bring today? I know
Chico
you brought
brought
some
some
as well.
stuff.
Just a quick freestyle, grab some to bring. This is King Tim III, the first hip hop record.
First hip hop
First
record
hip-hop
ever.
Ever. That's the first
Ever.
one.
Come on, bro.
Wow.
What are we
That's
talking about here,
incredible.
bro?
So
Riding
then-
me already.
This one right
This
here.
is a history lesson, people. All right. This
This one
is.
is the Crash Crew. This is the 7th hip hop record in existence, first independent and first sample song.
Come on, bro.
And this one, what's dope about it, it's a one-sided record. This joint, when you pull it out, you can't play it on one side.
Come on, dog.
So
You said this is the 7th hip hop record ever made?
Yeah.
And the first sampled hip hop
first
record?
sampled, yo.
Come on, dog.
And this is the test pressing. Oh, that's the that's the promo. This is the test pressing of the same record.
Insane. Insane, bro.
Up there.
No, you're
We
good.
we could have did a whole episode on.
We could have just. I
I'm
know.
telling you, bro.
I'm
This is
sure
the
we
group
could
called
have.
The New Style.
Okay.
If you look at it, you know who it is.
Yeah, that's Naughty by Nature.
Yeah. So
Wow.
Their first shit.
Man.
Yeah, you really.
Nah, he's crazy.
You
with
went
it.
deep in the archives
This
here.
one
This is
here?
insane.
It's an acetate master recording of Big Daddy Kane, Lean on Me.
Stop it, bro.
Now, you it's
So
like
what is
metal.
that? It's not a vinyl.
Nah, it's metal. It's like that.
It's a metal.
Oh, yeah.
What
Like
is
this
that?
one
The
here.
master?
It's the master recording.
Come on, dog.
So this one here
Damn.
is the master recording of the symphony, Molly Mo. And if you look at it,
Bro, what?
Whoa.
The symphony?
wipe it off.
How you get that?
You getting stuff.
Crazy.
He's not
man.
giving away his
And the
sauce.
last one is Termanology's first album, Test Press.
And I don't have that. I don't know
You
how
don't
he
have-
got.
you
I
don't
do
have
not.
your-
Hell no, I don't have that. I have no clue how he got that.
That's what we got.
Chico,
That's-
man.
So it was a quick little freestyle.
Yeah.
but
I
love that,
next
bro.
time I'll bring
The fact that you busted out the first hip hop record ever is insane.
And it was so like just.
Yeah, it's
cool.
nothing.
It was just easy. This is the first
Yeah.
hip hop record ever. No big deal.
Nah, he taught me
It's
a lot
incredible.
about records. Statik taught me a lot about records. Just being around DITC, being around Premiere, all these guys, man, like they taught me a lot about vinyl and just respecting it and knowing what's worth what and what's worth something and what is useless and amount of copies made. Like shout out to Gene Brown. Gene Brown taught me a lot too. He's a legend with the record game too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man, we're deep into this stuff, man. We love it.
love
Guys
it.
like Large Pro, guys like
Oh,
the
Large
Beat
Pro,
Nuts,
yeah.
and guys like Diamond D, like all those dudes, man. They're serious. Buck Wild, they're serious with the digging.
Mm-hmm.
So I love being around those guys because it's just you just learn so much history about records, and you could never ever in this world, even if you had all the time in the world and lived to 100 years, you'll never find every record ever.
Oh no way. No
There's
way.
so many
There's too
countries.
many.
Like
Yeah.
you go to Brazil and you're gonna find thousands of records that never made its way out of Brazil. And there's so
Absolutely.
much heat. There's so much to buy. There's so
It's-
much
I
to
know.
sample. There's so much to hear. You could never hear it all. That's before streaming, and you could never hear it all. So imagine now.
It's
You know what I
crazy.
mean? We live in a crazy time, but man, respect the vinyl.
Absolutely, big respect to vinyl. I just have a couple questions that
Yeah.
I want to ask on this topic. You had said, as most people do know, you produce as well, and
Yeah.
you're a very pretty prolific producer yourself, and you do a lot of sampling from vinyl. So I'm curious if, off the top of your head, without thinking about it too hard, was maybe one of your favorite records you sampled for a song on your own, one of your own
Oh, yeah.
songs or albums.
Man, there's a lot of them. I was looking for one today I wanted to bring. There's a song I did called Bag It Up with Benny the Butcher. It's just me and Benny, and we're going back and forth. And that record is like a very rare record. When Rick James was in a group, before he went solo, he was in a band. I don't remember the name of the band, but I know that
Great White Cane.
is it?
That's
Okay.
why Chico's here. He
And it
remembers.
has like a cane on the cover, right?
It's baby blue and white.
It's baby blue and white. So I have that
You got it.
record.
I seen it in your collection.
You seen it? So that record is actually the sample to the song with me and Benny. So it's funny because one time I went to Primo's studio and he's like, dun, 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 and then he was going, he was doing the drums and I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Primo's beatboxing my beat back to me. The kid, shout out to Lex, he actually did the drums. I'm the one who came with the sample and the loop. But yeah, man, just that's a great one. And obviously the one that Jim Jones just dropped, Jomo, Statik made the beat, you know what I mean? But I'm the one that, it was my idea, it was my record. You know, I heard the sample and I was like, yo, we got to sample that and make that for Jim Jones. So that was a special one for me. Well, I actually have a crate in my studio of all the records I sampled.
Okay.
'Cause I don't want to like get confused and forget.
That makes sense.
So what I'll do is like, let's say I'll sample some, I'll write on the back, like let's say it says like James Brown. On the back it'll be like, Terman met the man. Like
that's sweet.
This song. So I
'Cause
can
you-
always
yeah,
go
yeah.
back and find
You
it.
know which
what I
one,
mean?
right.
I also
That's
got
super
one
cool.
that says Records Chico gave me. I got a whole he gave me 5 crates. But
I was about to say,
I
there's
got
probably
one
a couple crates
specific
of those.
crate that says Records Chico gave me, and those are like the important ones that I've been meaning to sample or you know what I mean? So yeah, we take this digging stuff seriously, you know what I mean?
It seems that way.
Especially since I'm not a DJ. I just love records. And that's
Right.
one of the reasons why me and Statik clicked up, because he came to my house and was like, bro, what? You got turntables? You got vinyl? You're not a DJ. Like, why? I'm like, I just love hip hop. So we just, another one, Spider-Man meme. Like, yo, I love this stuff, you know?
That's so cool. I love it.
Yeah, bro.
What was the Chico? Do you remember what the first record you ever purchased was? Like off the top of your head, without?
Yeah, I do actually. It was out of 2. It was either Roxanne Shante, Death Fresh Crew, where Biz was beatboxing. That was his debut. It was
Crazy.
either that one or Life on the Street by MC Crash. It was Beauty and the Beat Records. I was like 7 years old. I always loved this shit.
Insane.
I've been doing this since way back.
What's the most expensive record you own? If you
funny.
That's a good question.
if you don't mind saying
I
it.
don't mind. I got that Basquiat shit, the K-Rob versus Ramelzi on Towtown, and it just recently sold at Sotheby's for $127,000.
All right.
Google that shit.
Come on, bro. I believe you.
I believe you, but yeah, if anyone wants to fact check that, feel free, my guess.
127,000, bro.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's incredible, bro.
I got
that
2
is-
minutes.
I think the most
that is
expensive
pretty-
one I
that's
got,
crazy.
that money. You know?
the most
Fuck yeah.
expensive one I got is like 500, 600.
Yeah.
Something like that. The Jay-Z one I showed you is pretty rare.
That one's pretty rare.
Because
Yeah.
it has the vinyl and you have to actually cut it open. And then, I don't want to cut it open. You kind of ruining it.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
rather not, you know?
Leave it, man.
I'd rather leave it
Leave
alone,
it,
yeah.
leave it. My last question to both of you, for this is, Term. I saw you had responded. I think it was either a tweet or a something on Threads. I can't remember exactly what it was, but you responded to somebody asking which rap artist has 4 classic albums, and you had mentioned Nas. So
That was today.
was that today?
Man, you're on it.
Huh? All right. I thought it was. I didn't
Might
know
have
it was
been
that recent.
yesterday.
But yeah, it was. Yeah, it was definitely maybe.
yesterday?
Was it
Okay.
yesterday? Okay.
Yeah.
Either way,
It was in the last 24 hours.
fair enough. So it's fresh in your head.
Okay, yeah.
I want you to both pick. If you can pick someone else other than Nas that you think might have 4 classic albums, if there's anybody, any
hard.
artist you think,
Almost everybody taps out at 3. Almost everybody. You could say Ice Cube got 3. You could
Okay.
say Mobb Deep got 3. You could
Yep.
say Outkast got 3. You know, it depends who you really love. Like, you go back in the days, and some people might pick some older groups that are not relevant
Right.
to
That's
now. I don't know who you got.
it's subjective. Yeah, who do you think?
Damn.
Who might have 4 classics?
4 is hard, bro.
It's hard.
It's a few people with 3, but 4 is like, man.
Well, maybe it,
Redman?
Redman?
Maybe.
Redman.
I mean,
Okay.
He had a few good albums.
I mean,
Off head, I can't.
man, that's
If you
tough,
show
bro.
me some images, maybe I could.
I mean,
pick
maybe
it
there's
up.
a reason why I only said Nas. You know what I mean?
Maybe that is
Because
why.
in my opinion, Pat is saying X.
Yeah.
I think X got 2. I don't know about 4, but because yo,
I would say
it's
2.
all subjective, right?
It is subjective, of
but
course.
some are not subjective. Like, we all know that Illmatic is a classic.
Oh, of course. That's
right? We
goes
know
without
that.
saying.
Now, the 4th one I said was Life is Good. That one's subjective.
I liked that project though.
I loved it, but it's subjective. But it
I
was
actually preferred his Untitled album.
Untitled is crazy. And
That
to me,
album is so
honestly,
cool.
the first he might have 5 because to be real,
He might.
the Lost Tapes, the first one,
Lost Tapes, yeah.
bro, that's a classic album,
Mm-hmm.
and that was just his random songs.
Exactly.
So yeah, man,
Exactly.
I don't know. I'm going with Nas. I mean, Jay might too, man. Jay got some crazy albums.
Jay would have obviously
Reasonable
Reasonable
Doubt.
Doubt. The Black Album, I think that holds.
Okay, so if you're doing those 2, you got to do Blueprint.
Blueprint, of course.
That's 3.
Yeah.
444.
I'm okay with that.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
Those
okay
are
with
all,
that.
you know, some of them are debatable, but
I would agree.
some people would argue that that's a solid 4-album run. You know what I mean? Then you
Yeah,
got
you're right.
then you got people that's like stans. Like if you're a stan of somebody, you're gonna be like, oh, well, you crazy? This guy got 10 classics. Like, all right, because you're a stan of that artist, you know?
Yeah.
But like some people would say Run the Jewels, right? If you love Run the Jewels,
I mean, I'm huge. Yeah,
I love Run the Jewels
huge
too.
fan.
Not taking nothing away from them. Those are my guys.
Oh, of course.
I just mean like that's a certain type of fan base that would put Run the Jewels over everybody.
Exactly.
They're like, what?
Yeah. They're
Wu-Tang
like
who?
hardcore.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
100%.
Like, you know, it's just
100%.
like whoever, like, there's people that come up to me and DM me every day, like, bro, you're the best rapper in the world. I hate it. Why don't you, like, yo, you're the best. And I'm like, yo, thank you, bro. You know, it feels good to get the accolades and have people who resonate with your stuff. You know what
You
I'm
got
saying?
4 classics out of that 50, I would think, right? You must.
I got a bunch of them.
What would you consider your 4 classics if you know?
Funny story. I brought a couple of them with me.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Let's end on this. I love
let's
this.
see.
What are your 4
For
classics?
sure, absolutely. And mind you, I'm operating in a different space. Like some people call something classic on how it changed mainstream, how much it sold, you know, what it did to pop culture. Did it have you dressing different? Did
Right.
it change your slang? When I speak on the classics that I have underground classics. So if we're talking about underground classics, I got a bunch of those. You know what I mean? So for sure, this one right here. This is.
Oh yeah, that's
if
the
you-
one in Politics as Usual.
I mean,
That's
bro,
the one that
look
still
who
gets
did
talked
look
about.
who did the beats on my first album: Easy Mo B, DJ Premier, Buck Wild, Alchemist, Knots, Primo, Knots, High Tech, Primo, Large Pro, Pete Rock, Havoc.
Damn.
Cut it out, bro. So you know,
That's crazy.
this
I
is
yield.
this is undisputed.
That's undisputed. That one I knew was coming.
We got this one right here.
Okay.
You know,
Dope cover too.
I love that cover,
Physiology.
yeah. Oof.
I mean, this is
That shit goes
crazy,
hard.
man. Like, you know, Little Fame, MOP meets Termanology, Legendary. Just too crazy, man. This one right here is super special. This one right here, super classic. right
Wow,
here.
okay.
Slain verse Termanology.
Slain verse Term.
You know, at one point we were
Funny
rivals.
enough, that's actually one of the first projects I found was Slain, because when I looked up Slain, because I listened to your music
Yeah.
before, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize
Yeah.
he worked with Term. So like,
Oh,
that
yeah.
was, when I went down the rabbit hole, this was
For
probably
sure.
12 years ago.
Definitely that
Or
one
longer,
right
I don't
there.
even remember when that would have been.
First 1982 album, super classic.
Mm-hmm.
If you know, you know. This birthed a lot of stuff, right? A lot of people started calling us like the new Gangstar.
Yeah.
A lot of people said like we're carrying on tradition of like the producer / DJ with the cut hooks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, then you got the rapper from Mass that moved to NY. So it was kind of like, you know, we were able to carry on tradition, you know, with the Gangstar stuff. And then I definitely got to throw this one on right here.
That's
the first
one of-
album
that's
with
one of my-
Paul
that's one of
Wall.
my favorites.
This was like, I was doing a bunch of stuff that was kind of going under the radar. And then I was able to link back up with Paul and come back with a Pete Rock single and Statik single and Dame Grease single and just do it real big, man. We just came back real big with this one and made a crazy splash. And actually, this one is actually signed by Paul Wall too. I gotta remember to keep this one in and not sell it. This gotta go to the crib. So yeah, man, those are 5 Termanology classics
That's a
right there
keeper.
for
I
sure.
love that record. Hold on, I think one of these batteries dead. Well, Term, man, this has been an absolute honor, pleasure, whatever you want to call it. It's been that.
Thank you, man.
We definitely made a little, at least for this show, we've never done like a little
Yeah.
vinyl swapping of. We've never had anybody come in and bring their own vinyl.
I'm
and
setting
show
a
them
new
off. So
precedent over
I
here.
love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I wanted to level it up.
something episodes in, and
Let's-
and this is the first time it's happened. So.
Let's go, man.
But
I
it's
like
probably
to-
only fair that it was you. So it makes
No
sense.
doubt. And I brought the expert with
And
me.
of course.
I think
Thank
that,
you
you
for
know,
jumping in,
I like
Chico.
to bring value to I like to bring value to situations, you know. You went out of your way to, you know, to invite me here, so we might as well pull up and make it a movie.
This was really great. This
sure,
was a
man.
special one for sure.
Thanks for having us, for real.
Of course. Oh my God, it was an absolute pleasure. The last thing to do would be to look in that left side camera, let the people know where they can find you,
Yeah.
and if they haven't found you already,
If you haven't found me, I am at Termanology ST on every platform. Make sure you check out my music on Bandcamp. You can get all those vinyl, including the new one, Things I've Seen. Shout out to Monster Energy. Shout out to my whole team. ST Show Off. Love y'all, man.
Awesome. And I know you're going to be on the road pretty soon, right? On tour. You got some more dates
Man, we
coming
got a
up?
bunch of dates coming up. Just follow the Instagram. I'm always active on the gram. You can also listen to me every Thursday, 7 to 9 p.m. on satellite radio, Sirius XM, Show Off Radio with my man Statik Selektah.
Incredible. And if you are a fan of Termanology, just being introduced to us for the first time, you can find us at Turntable Teachers on Instagram, TikTok. You can hit our website, turntableteachers.com, for all the latest blogs, podcast episodes, etc. And of course, if you're an artist, podcaster, or content creator of any kind, make sure to check us out at aoastudios.org. Book your session or service today. We offer a plethora of them, whether it be mixing and mastering, engineering, media, any form of media, honestly, podcasting, video, photo. We kind of do it all here. So make sure you check us out. Book a session if you would like to come down and get some work done. But as always, really appreciate you guys both being here. Thanks, Chico, for jumping in on this. This was a pleasure. The first rap album ever was just unveiled on our show. So that was really, really cool.
Crazy.
Crazy dope. But as always, I'm Mike. That's Termanology and Chico with the Turntable Teachers, and class is officially dismissed.